Really is a lovely morning after all that rain that we had yesterday. And we've got some cloud cover, still a bit of cloud cover, but that beautiful orange glow in the sky really is beautiful. My name is Byron, and on camera with me this morning is Fergs. And we've got two other vehicles out again this morning, which is exciting. So Tristan and Ali, and then of course they will be with Senzo and Wiem. And Rebecca in final control this morning. Now don't forget, we are live, and hopefully we're going to provide an exciting drive for you. So, but along the way, please send us your questions and comments. You can do so via Twitter, hashtag Safari Live, otherwise just in the comments box on YouTube. And then we'll, like I say, hopefully answer all of them. It's still very, very early here, 5:30 in the morning. You can see it's still a little dark, but it is a beautiful morning. It's a little chilly this morning. I've got the jacket on. Fergs, you got a jacket on? Oh, Fergs is not. He's not got a jacket on. So we're going to try and find a lion and leopard. We're going to follow up on that sighting from yesterday with that male lion and Tingana. So we'll try our best. But in the meantime, let's go across to Ali. She can say good morning and find out what her plan is.
Good morning, everyone. Indeed, my name is Ali, and on camera with me today I have Senzo. And we have to agree with Byron. It is a bit of a chilly morning today. Seems like the sun might break through, which we're really excited about, as we haven't seen it for about 3 or 4 days. So we'll see how that goes. Now, early this morning we heard lions roaring again. So it was more than one. So I'm hoping that that lonely lioness managed to find the rest of her pride. And now our task is going to see if maybe we can find all of them together. It sounded it was coming somewhere from the south, central, eastern, just somewhere around the south. Early morning, our ears are not really working that well. So that's where we're headed. Hopefully to be able to find the rest of the family and know that she's not alone anymore. Because, shame, yesterday she sounded very, very sorry for herself at one point when she was contact calling that way. And as the time passed by, then she started getting a little bit more frustrated with the lack of answer from her pride members. Whew. Now we'll see. Hopefully we'll be able to get them at some point. It sounded like even the males were roaring this morning, so who knows, maybe we'll get lucky. And I wonder if Nsuku is going to stay there or he's going to carry on. But I suppose Byron will tell us once he gets there. But in the meantime, let's go over to Tristan, who wants to say hello.
Well, indeed, we do want to say hello. So, as Ali mentioned, my name is Tristan. On camera today, I've got Wiem. And what I wanted to do is, well, I wanted to show you the sunrise. I know Byron has shown you, and probably Ali has shown you as well. But there's one spot here that is always very pretty for sunrises. And that's off this little open area, just on the kind of western side of Quarantine. And you've got this dead tree. And then you've got the most ridiculous sky that is behind it. So it's a wonderful place to come and actually watch the sun rise. So there you go. There you can see the colors that are sort of getting out and adorning us this morning. It is beautiful purples and reds and oranges. It is actually very, very pretty. And I wonder if we're going to get some of that crazy light like we got yesterday. Yesterday we had the most insane light with the stormy conditions. And there's the big dead tree that I was talking about. Isn't that pretty? I think it's a wonderful way to start the day with the road leading into the sunrise as well. Now remember, we do want to hear from all of you. So remember, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter and also YouTube chat. Hopefully you guys have been hearing the lions on the dam cam as well. Seems as though they've been going most of the night, if we are to believe Byron, who said this morning that they were calling all over the place. And so then Ali and I asked him, where, Byron, are they calling from? And this was his answer. So we didn't get direction at all. It was pretty much everywhere is what he was trying to say. So we're going to try and just have a look around. Wiem and I think, are going to be on a different mission. We're going to be in the western side of the reserve and try and see if we can find some sort of sign of maybe Shidulu, Hukumuri, any of those leopards that have been kind of frequenting the western side. Also, there was reports of wild dogs on Arathusa coming east towards Djuma. So we're going to try and have a little look for them, see if they're around and see what pops up. Sometimes wild dogs and leopard can be in the same place, and that will just be a perfect bonus. Good. Wiem, should we get going? Yes, I think Wiem and I should get going. Let's see. So Rebecca, you want to know why the sun makes such beautiful colors in the morning? Because it feels like it just decided that it would just give us some sort of hope for the day, given that there's clouds everywhere and it might rain again. So it just felt like it wanted to give us a gift. Exactly. It's exactly like that, Rebecca. It's exactly like you like wearing bright colors some days, and other days you just feel like wearing all black. It's that way, you know, with the sun. Sometimes the sun wakes up and says, I'm going to spoil these humans today with a nice sunrise. But no, in all honesty, it's because that there's clouds. So clouds are reflecting the light in different ways, and that's why we're getting different tones and colors all throughout the sky. It's actually just getting better and better. The more the sun's coming through, the more sort of colors are actually appearing on the sky, which is going to be quite amazing. There's another spot just further on here on Zoe's that is also an epic place to watch the sunrise. So we might head that side and just have a little look what it looks like by the time we get there, because the more I look around at Wiem, the more colors seem to be coming out behind his head. And it's not Wiem dressing and putting on different clothes, it's just that there's more sunshine to illuminate all of these lovely clouds that are out and about. The only problem with this sunrise is that there is a little rhyme that goes red sky at night, shepherd's delight or sailor's delight, whichever one you've grown up with, and red sky in the morning, sailors or shepherds take warning. Now it is very red this morning, which means that potentially rain is afoot and coming our way. So let's see how this goes. Hopefully we don't get wet again this morning. My shoes have just dried, and so I've got nice comfy shoes again, and don't have soggy underpants, even though the seat that I'm sitting on is still rather damp. Yesterday I thought, I'm going to get into a car, it's not going to rain, I'm going to have dry underpants for the first time in 2 days, and then I forgot that the seat is wet, and it had a slow seep of water through my pants the whole afternoon, which was not as comfortable as one would imagine. So had that to deal with, which wasn't great, but it was okay because we sat with a leopard and a lion all afternoon, so that was pretty cool. Now we left those two and they were still in their sort of standoff. Nsuku was still sleeping, Tingana was still sleeping, and so not really much was happening there. But what we did have on the way home, which some of you might have been interested in, is we were coming along the main road from Chitwa, and we were crossing the Mulawanini, which is one of the dry riverbeds that is actually flowing at the moment. And there on the road, in the water, were two big catfish. Now, I don't know why they were on the road itself, but it looked like they were coming up the Mulawanini to potentially spawn. So they do this when the Mulawanini flows. You find the catfish come out of Chitwa Dam, and they go up the Mulawanini to go and spawn, and the two of them were lying side by side in the middle of the road, and they were very relaxed. I could have gotten out and grabbed one. I actually almost grabbed one for the crew to have for dinner. No, I'm just joking. I wouldn't have done that. But anyway, talking about Chitwa and the Mulawanini, I believe Byron is on his way that side, so maybe he should have a lookout on the Mulawanini crossing on Gowrie Main, because maybe those catfish are still in the area.
Well, I'll definitely have a look, Tristan, but for the moment, Fergus and I are just enjoying this amazing sky. It really is spectacular. Very peaceful morning, and I think Fergus and I are both in awe to the beauty. Joan, you want to give a shout out to the cameraman and the wonderful images and shots that they provide? Yes, definitely. So thank you, Fergs, Wiem, and Senzo, who are here at the moment, and of course the others. I used the spotlight for a while, just having a look if I can pick up on any nocturnal animals that might still be out, but nothing just yet. And as Tristan was saying, sorry folks, I'm bumps here. As Tristan was saying, we heard the lions calling, and they were well, I said they're calling from everywhere. It was a bit difficult to hear exactly where the calls were coming from this morning while we were in camp, but I've got a feeling they were coming from the south. So possibly either on Chitwa or Little Gowrie, south of us. Those appear to be Emma falcons that are flying around. I thought I caught a glimpse of some Emma falcons above those trees. There we go. I think so. I can't really be sure. The light is a bit tricky. Let's see if I can. I think those are little Emma falcons. I do believe they are. Well done, Fergs. That's amazing. Beautiful to see those birds flying through the sky like that. Especially that beautiful coloration. Isn't that magnificent? Gary, you'd like to see some small creatures today? We'll try our best, Gary. Always looking for small creatures. Yesterday, we had a wonderful sunset safari and a very interesting one. I saw something that I'd never seen before. An African harrier hawk break open some bark and catch a scorpion, which was incredible. So maybe we see something interesting like that again with some small creatures. We did see another scorpion later that evening. So those are probably some of the little creatures. I wonder if the little genet is over here in the tree. Let's have a quick look. Stick with us. Let's just have a quick look. The tree's right here. Maybe we get a glimpse of that genet. Oh, this genet has used this tree for quite a long time, for a number of months. I don't see anything there, Fergs. No sign of the little genet. Yeah, no sign. Well, worth a look anyway, but this genet has been using this hole for quite some time, and I think didn't Tristan see it the other day? I'm not sure. Oh, two, yeah. Tristan saw two, Tristan and Fergs. Well, we're still making our way down towards Chitwa. And hopefully we'll have a sighting of a male lion and a male leopard. Alright, well, I'm going to continue down, and while we do that, let's go back to Big Boss Man Tristan and his wet seat that he was complaining about. And it didn't rain yesterday. I don't know why he's complaining. Let's go to Tristan and find out what he has to say about the genets.
Well, Byron, the reason you're not complaining is because I think you should show everybody what you're currently driving in, given that I saw your shoes parked outside your house drying this morning. So if somebody just hasn't manned up and put on wet shoes, it's nice when you get into the tent when it's raining in the morning yesterday. Don't have to wear nice wet shoes. The reason I put wet shoes on yesterday is because we went out in the rain again and I didn't feel like having another pair of wet shoes. It's difficult enough to dry one pair, so to dry two would have been a bit of a disaster, so that's why. But yes, Byron, we did have two genets in that tree. There were two tails sticking out of the hole, and they were busy kind of moving around in there, and so I don't even know, there might be more than two, but we saw two tails for sure. So Janet Jackson has either got a wooing visitor or a friend that came over for tea, or we had a situation where it was just having a bit of fun. Now, there's a bird there, VM says. Yes, I see your bird, VM. Well done. Let's go back a little bit. There we go. What have we got? It looks like fairly thin legs. What are you? I'm going to go with a common buzzard. That's what I'm going to go with, or steppe buzzard was its old name. It's got that right kind of shape and appearance. Difficult to say without seeing the front side of the bird, but it looks that way. Size is about right, and those featherless legs, I might be wrong. It might actually be a juvenile black-chested snake eagle. Hold on a second. Let me just double check this. It's really tough when you've got a bird that's looking away from you. It makes it a lot harder to actually see. Now, does it have a yellow eye or a brown eye? Let's see. Come on, turn and face me. It's got the right mottled plumage for one of the buzzards. Man, come on, turn. Now, the buzzards do have featherless legs as well. And it's the right kind of size, like I say. Yes, yellow cere and a brown eye. All right, common buzzard or steppe buzzard is the one that it is. So if we have a look over here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. There it is. You see it's got these kind of mottled wings on the back, and then a fairly streaky head, and then it's got that brown eye with the little yellow marking there, whereas when you have the juvenile, it has a bit of yellow around the eye. So I just wanted to double check whether it was juvenile or adult. Now, I mentioned a snake eagle in all of this, which I'll show you now. So here we go. This is the snake eagles that I was talking about. So the juveniles can sometimes also have a little bit of kind of light mottling on them on the black-chested snake eagle, but there's a lot more barring on the tail than what we're seeing over there. So that's why we haven't called it that. And also that eye is very bright yellow, whereas that bird that we're seeing has a brown eye. So there we go. That's the reason why we have called it a common or steppe buzzard. Right, now Donovan, I think it was that right, Rebecca? Did I listen correctly while I was talking? Gordon wants to know what's the difference between a buzzard and a vulture. Well, here in South Africa, or some areas of the world, buzzards and vultures are essentially the same thing. They are kind of called the same thing. But here in South Africa, buzzards are much smaller birds and are more sort of related towards the eagle side of life than they are the vulture side. And you'll find that buzzards are birds here in South Africa, that is, that will hunt their own food and try and find their own food items, whereas vultures are scavengers and carrion feeders. So those little common buzzards that like the one we just saw, will hunt a lot of termites, small rodents, lizards. It can sometimes be seen coming down towards a carrion or a piece of carrion, but it's not exclusively on carrion, whereas the vultures in this area will only go after dead animals and feed off carrion and scavenge like that. So that's kind of the difference in this part of the world. But I know in some parts of the world, vulture-looking birds are referred to as buzzards sometimes. I think it's just a naming thing. I don't think that they actually are buzzards. I think they're more vultures. But you also get two sections of vultures. You get old world vultures and new world vultures. And so, the new ones, I think, are referred to more as buzzards as well in some parts of the world. That's interesting. Hold on. I just want to check something quickly. With the rain that we've had, there's been lots of winged allets around. And there's a digging in the side of this termite mound. Now, I wanted to see if maybe there's some tracks that are there, because that's not a very big hole, and it's almost like a digging kind of to try and get to some of those mounds. So I'm trying to see if there's some aardvark or pangolin tracks that might be in that area. Difficult to say, but there's definitely fresh soil that has been dug off and over some of the grasses there, and so I wonder who's caused that. I don't see any tracks on this side on the road of anything going towards there, and there's no tracks on that fresh soil. Sometimes what you can find is when an aardvark or a pangolin has dug, they sit and they dig out, and then they put their feet down on top of that nice dug soil, and it leaves this beautiful crisp track. But in this case, there doesn't seem to be that. It seems as though it dug from the side and it dug out, and then it kind of moved off onto the right side of that hole. So it doesn't seem like there's any nice clean crisp tracks on top of that digging area. There's a little bit more digging down at the bottom. You also find sometimes porcupines do it if there's a tuber or a root, but this is not porcupine. This is something else that has dug there. So I would go for maybe an aardvark that's done that sort of damage to a mound itself. Good. let's carry on. See, the sun is just coming up from behind the clouds, so while we try and figure out where exactly we're going to head from here, let's send you across to Ali, who hasn't found the lions, but she sure has found a lot of bait.
We have found a lot of them, and a lot of buffalo. Unexpectedly, their tracks yesterday were definitely not in this area, so it's wonderful to see that they're around here. And I'm surprised at how many buffalo we've been seeing the last few days. Now, this is a breeding herd. I can see a few of them. I'm going to say roughly, I don't know, maybe about 70 of them or so. So it's not those huge mega herds that we've been seeing, but it's still very good to be able to see all of them. And you can tell that they perhaps were a little bit cold during the night. It's been a bit chilly, and they were all tightly packed next to one another, all sleeping almost on top of each other, pretty much no space, and all of them in there. And some of them are still not waking up. Now, I wonder if the lions know that they're here, because I think the lions were calling not too far from this area, so they don't seem too bothered. And had the lions had been roaring really close by, I reckon the buffalo wouldn't be as relaxed in. We are in the southern part of the reserve, very close to Twin Dams. Actually, we're just in a little junction between Pangolin Track and Twin Dams, so not too far from Twin Dams Waterhole and from Treehouse Dam. So if the buffalo want, they can just head either way to go for a drink of water, which I'm sure it's what they're going to be doing later on, hopefully, because it's going to get very warm due to the beautiful sunrise that we're having. Now, I'm very happy to see little ones. It's almost like they've been missing, and tiny buffalo are very cute creatures. Perhaps not as cute as lion or leopard cubs, but still very endearing with their little horns. Ah, look at that face. Ooh. We were talking yesterday at some point about the amount of flies that annoy us during the drive. Well, whenever you come across a big herd of buffalo, lots of little flies start coming onto you because they tend to follow them around. And they're always on them. Because obviously wherever buffalo go, there are a lot of droppings that get left along the way. Look at all those heads. All of them tucked in there together. It's funny because I think that if one of them, or like the female in the back, if they want to move, they're going to have to wait for the rest of them to get up and start moving. Because otherwise I don't think they'll have enough space to actually all of them stand up at the same time. And it's almost like some of them are beginning to get up. Some of them are moving just to the back and then going for their morning needs. And then as soon as they're done, some of them are also coming back into sleep. So perhaps not everyone's ready to wake up and get the morning going. Gordon, I'm not sure if buffaloes will breed with domestic cattle. I would suppose we could get hybrids. They are very similar species. I don't know if it's ever been recorded in the past. I wouldn't be surprised that as humans, having them perhaps in very close quarters, it might have led to that at some point. But I can't think of any situation in which they would do it just on their natural accordance. So it's a tough one. I don't see why not, but I think it would have to be a bit of an artificial environment for the both species to actually meet and then perhaps mate. But I wouldn't be surprised. I wonder though what the temperament would be like, because buffaloes are, or at least the African buffalo, are not really all that friendly creatures, and they're very very temperamental. They can be a little bit volatile, and they are feared by many people, so I'm not too sure if a cow would allow them to approach them, or if a mix between a cow and a buffalo would actually be a good thing. Now, funny enough, my younger brother, when we were little, we used to go out camping and into farms in the southern parts of the country and so on, and he was always terrified of cows. Just a normal domestic cow, he just couldn't handle them. And he was little by then. He must have been, I don't know, maybe 8-10 years old, and he was just like, no, hold my hand, and be like, I don't want to go close to the cow, they're mean. So I don't know, maybe a mix between a buffalo and a cow would be a super mean thing. Especially according to my younger brother. Seems like definitely not keen on moving today. Are you guys? child of the universe, you're wondering how old that little baby is. Well, I would assume a few months old at least, judging by the fact that it's got almost... some bellowing there. One of the older females was bullying one of the younger ones, but not this one. This one's not particularly bothered. I would say I'm gonna go for about 4 or 5 months old, because it's got tiny little horns that are starting to stick out. So maybe it was born at the beginning of the rainy season. Could be a fact. You do have a very cute face, and you don't look like a mean cow. Now there's a little bird just behind the buffalo. I don't know if you can see them there, Senzo. That's to the right. No, on the ground. That's playing with fire because it's having a bath amongst all the buffalo, just in the middle. There we go. Now the red-billed oxpecker that normally goes along with all the buffalo and bigger creatures when they move around is, and I mean very, very brave, because all it takes is one of this buffalo to actually come and sit there and squish him. But it's just having a dust bath amongst all of the different, or it was having a dust bath in between all of the buffalo. There we go. Perhaps it sensed the danger, fluffing up. And birds do this to try and get rid of certain parasites that might nest on their feathers, like little mites, little fleas perhaps, and then by doing that, it's almost like they dislodge them and then get them off of them. So it's almost the same way as they would bathe in water, but it's quite funny because they do it in the sand and they seem out of place. Now it's attached himself, and the little one is getting up, or has gotten up. Guys, you're being very lazy. Were you running the whole night? Because it is... What time is it now? It's 6 o'clock in the morning. Is nobody gonna go eat? Go down for a drink? Seems like it's a very lazy morning today. And all of them, the ones in the middle of the herd, I reckon would be the ones that probably would be more protected from the cold, and especially if something else came around and they all had to start running. Now, it would be a terrifying thing, and I've unfortunately been there before, when buffaloes come running, and it's almost like a stampede. And every time that I've seen these things, it's because lions decide to come to the buffalo, or they get a whiff of lion smell, and then it's just panic, and they all start running around. Now, I don't think that's going to happen to us right now. I don't think the lions are anywhere close by. And also, should they get up and start running, well, then I've got a very good escape route. But that's just my wishful thinking that the lions are going to find us for once, and that they're all going to be here. Whoop! Alright, well, probably some ticks in there. I wonder if we're going to get any yellow-billed oxpeckers on this buffalo. It seems like they've been accompanying them for the last few days, and it's quite interesting to see them. I mean, we've been seeing them a lot more, and it's a wonderful thing, because these little birds were actually thought to be extinct up to the 1980s or so in this particular area of the Kruger National Park. Oh, Senzo, there they are. I don't know, now they've gone down on the buffalo. Come, little birdies. Show yourselves. There we go. You see, there we go. Perfect. Now, they were believed to be extinct, or they went extinct for a little while, not because the buffaloes were... That's like almost like a face massage. But because of cattle dipping. So obviously farmers wanted their cattle to be healthy, and then they were starting to dip them in all sorts of pesticides and just in general, I want to call them medicines, but I don't know if that's a word for it, that would keep ticks and all sorts of parasites away from them. Now, obviously, that is what the oxpeckers eat, and as soon as they went and landed and started eating these things on top of the buffalo, then they all started dying. So for a very, very long time, none of them were seen here. And here in the northern part of the Kruger, we're starting to see them a little bit more than what we still did, for example, in the southern part of the Sabi San, where they're not as common. But it's good to see that they're starting to repopulate this particular area. Oh, that is a very happy, sleepy face. See, the oxpeckers have to be very careful to go on. Debbie, I would imagine that the water buffalo and the North American are all related to, or distantly related to, the African buffalo. Now, I would imagine that they probably millions of years since they diverged from a common ancestor. but I'm sure they're all still in the same family, in the Bovidae family, at least in a very, very high taxonomical order. Now, they've all got their little or their different characteristics that have adapted them to the environment that they live in. And we do tend to say that the African buffalo at least are a little bit more aggressive than the rest of the buffaloes around, but also if you think about it, they've had to turn themselves in that way to be a little bit more fierce perhaps than some other buffalo species, because they get the pressure from lions. So to be able to escape a lion, you've got to be almost like very full of yourself. You've got to be very strong and willing just to come at anything. Almost like offense is the best attack. Or defense, sorry, is the best offense. What is going on there? Oh no, that's just another buffalo sleeping. What a morning. I think maybe they're all going to carry on going down and sleeping. Now, that we're looking at there, you can see it's very different from the horns of some of the other ones that we have around. It's not as full, I want to use that word, and it's a little bit hairy on top of the middle of the horn. So that's a clear indication that that one that we're looking at is a female. And also there's a much bigger gap in between, almost like the two round parts of its horns. So that middle part, it's called the boss, especially for the males. So the boss, as in the boss. And males have a more prominent one because they use their heads and they go head on banging themselves when they're fighting for dominance or for the rights to mate with females. So they need extra protection like that one over there so that they don't concuss themselves. Here are the oxpeckers. Noisy little things. They are my favorite birds. I think that they're always up to no good. And I just find them hilarious because they're so tiny and they go and annoy such big things. And then they jump around and go into the ears and go into the mouths. They are stunning. I'm going to sit around with the buffalo for a little while longer, see if perhaps the lions do come to us. But in the meantime, let's head over to Tristan and find out if he's had any luck with the tracks.
No, I'm afraid no tracks whatsoever. We kind of came past Treehouse, checked Shabamu just to see if maybe lions were hanging around here and heading towards where those buffalo are, but nothing that we can see. I think the lions must be a little further to the east and maybe still trailing those buffalo and heading in that direction. They were very vocal this morning though, so I wonder what's going on. Maybe Ali will get lucky and the lions will arrive there with her and she'll be able to find them. So what we're doing is we just kind of came onto the southern boundary just to have a little look, see if there's any tracks to work with, just general kind of feel for what's going on in the morning. This is how it kind of starts in the morning, is to just try and get around, get onto some of the boundary roads, have a little look around, see what's come in, what's gone out, and that's how you can start your kind of day. From there, then you can sort of decide where you're going to be moving in and what's going to be kind of going on. So we're slowly but surely just trying to kind of worm our way around and just see exactly what we're dealing with this morning. It's always good just to have a little look. The problem is that the roads are still so hard from the rain. It's going to take weeks until tracking is going to become nearly as effective as what it has been in the past, and so we're going to have to just deal with a little bit of a hiatus in tracking work and in easy tracking, should we say, because it's obviously you can still track, but it's just going to be a lot harder and a lot more effort than what we have been doing over the past few weeks. But I want to try and get off of this very bumpy road, so I'm just going very slowly because otherwise the camera gets shaken and destroyed on this road. So I'm just trying to go as slowly and as gently as possible. I'm also trying to just kind of look nicely because Gowrie Main is a great road for tracks. It's because of the amount of traffic that goes on it. You generally find that it churns up a lot quicker, which means that even though it's rained, this becomes quite powdery and soft quite fast because of the amount of cars and trucks and various other things that go on here. The other thing is that obviously being a big road, it's often a boundary for a lot of the animals, and so a lot of animals will often walk in this section as well. Right, here's always a good road to check. No tracks that I can see. This is a road that Shadulu and Hukamuri and various others have used. Shadow and Cub used to use this regularly as well, but no sign of them and really no reports of them at all. I haven't heard a single report of shadow in quite some time. So it's getting a little concerning as to where she's gone. And she could be hiding out somewhere on Hoffman's or something like that. But you'd think after all this time that somebody would have had at least a glimpse of them on Djuma. It's not like they didn't spend time on Djuma. It's just, you would think that there'd be some sort of indication of tracks or something like that. But alas, nothing just yet, and hopefully Shadow will come out. Like she has done this before, where she's just disappeared completely, and kind of you don't see her for 6 weeks and you think that she's gone, and then all of a sudden she just out of nowhere is right in the middle of where you would expect her to be. So she's one of those cats that can do that kind of thing. So we'll just keep an open mind for now and hope that she pops out somewhere close by. Maybe even this morning is the day that she's going to come out. Right, now I believe I need to send you across to Ali, because something is grooming the buffaloes. What it is, I'm not quite sure. Rebecca broke up, but I'm going to guess that it's a oxpecker.
Well, not much has changed here. Some of them have gone down to just sit still for a little while. And the oxpeckers are actually the ones that are keeping us the most entertained, because the buffaloes are not even grunting anymore. They've all gone down and just enjoying sleeping in, which I would be very happy to do as well. James, you're wondering if red-billed and yellow-billed oxpecker have different nesting habits. Well, as far as I understand, no, they do not. They have very similar nesting habits in the sense that they will both roost during the night in holes in trees. And they also have a very similar social structure or parental behavior, where there will be an alpha group or an alpha couple, and the rest of the birds in the clan will help them raise those particular ones. As far as I know, that's the way that it goes, but I would like to actually check in the book for the yellow-billed oxpeckers. That would be interesting to find out. So let's go and have a look at the book quickly. 04. Alright, let's see. Up near water, buffalo. Trying to find the difference between the two of them, but it doesn't really give me much than that. I feel like perhaps this bird book is not as complete, but we see the red-billed and the yellow-billed oxpecker and just how different they are when compared to one another. So with the yellow-billed, the yellow obviously is that clear dead giveaway, and the eye is a lot smaller than the one of the red-billed. The red-billed has almost got more yellow around the eye. Some bellowing going on, but as far as I remember, and if I hope I'm being correct, they've got the same nesting habits. Now, sorry, Tristan is just calling me on the radio, so I'm just gonna follow up for a second. Standing by. Negative. Andrew did mention that perhaps some of them had moved from Chitwa Plains to Torchwood, so I don't know, maybe further east. Sorry, Tristan and I are on a lion mission this morning as we split up and came from camp trying to find where the lions were calling from, but we haven't heard them for the last, I want to say maybe half an hour, 45 minutes or so. So we know the buffalo are here, which is a good thing, but I think the lions might be further away than what we imagined. And then, of course, they haven't roared again or contact called for since we've been out, just to make everything easier. So I think probably a good... Oh, look at that. Sensor, can you see the one here close to us? Because it's quite a funny position. Yeah, the one with the leg open to the bottom right. It's actually moved to expose the ticks so that the oxpeckers come and eat them. So you see all those little tiny black marks? Those are all ticks, all of them, of different sizes. Ooh. Katie, you're wondering how many different species of oxpeckers there are. Well, we've got only 2 in this particular area, and I think just in southern Africa too, the red-billed oxpecker and the yellow-billed oxpecker, which we're being very lucky to see both of them here. Now, I had assumed that the oxpeckers were going to be a little bit more clever and just go for where food is nicely exposed, but it seems like they are preferring the ones on the ear of the buffalo rather than those ones. I'm not sure if maybe they're struggling a little bit more, but it just goes to show that... Oh, going down. Somebody found the jackpot. Yeah, you see, this is where oxpeckers become very useful. Oh, not sure I can handle this view. More oxpeckers landing. All of them have found that there's a buffalo herd here, so lots and lots of food. Now you see, this is the youngster, and it's asking for food. Just keeps begging, like we saw the hornbill do a few days ago. Just stands there and it's like, parents, come on, I'm hungry, give me breakfast. There we go again. Oh, please eat those sticks. I feel like you should help her. Nope, seems like they're not particularly interested in those ones. But the young one is so close. There we go. Being fed by the parents. Emily, I'm not sure how many species of ticks we have here. Must be quite a large number. I do know that in this area perhaps we get 3 or 4 that are the most common ones, like the pepper ticks and the rhino ticks, and there's... The other 2 names are escaping my memory, but I'm not too sure, to be honest, how many species or different species of ticks we get on this area. The one thing that I can say to you is that if there are any species of ticks, Tristan has probably been bitten by all of them. He is like a tick magnet. Doesn't matter where he walks, if there's a tick, it will find him and latch onto him forever. I don't know what it is. Maybe his blood is too sweet? Maybe it's too sugary? Who knows? But it seems like every single tick loves it. And I've seen him with all sorts of different ticks on him, from the bigger ones to the smaller ones. It's a bit worrying sometimes, to be honest. Now, you're still asking for food, and I think you look about big enough to go get your own. You little bully, asking your parents to feed you all the time. I think having a pet oxpecker would be the best thing ever. Not that you could ever do that, but... I feel like it would be a very good bird if you want to get up to nonsense. You could almost train it to be cheeky with you and be like, haha, let's go annoy people. They have that kind of attitude, at least to me. That's what I feel like they would look like if we could, or they would behave like if we could understand each other and talk in a language that we could both agree upon. Probably have to be something between chip, 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 chip and other things. There we go, being fed. There's a tick, massive fat tick. Well done, parents. Well done. Oh, your one dropped it. Okay, you can do this. Come on, little one. Ah, dropped it. Now you see, it's very swollen, that tick, full of blood. No, where are you going? Your food is the other way. It clearly doesn't know what to do just yet. Doesn't really know what's going on. Now, good for the tick, because unless it gets eaten and swallowed, the tick is likely going to be able to carry on surviving. Come on, little one. You could do this. We've got faith. Stop dropping your food. Just goes to show that it takes them a while to even be able to learn how to get the food from their parents, and perhaps because some of the ticks are too big and round, it's complicated for them to be able to get them in their mouth and swallow them. Oh yeah, okay, so at least you've got the dust bathing part down. You know how to bathe? Looking very fluffy. Alright, perhaps it was better for you to have a bath and then carry on fighting for your food, because it doesn't seem like you are too good at getting your meals, and I wonder how you got such a nice big fluffy chest if you're dropping everything that your parents tried to feed you. Now, as I was saying earlier, the tick, the only thing it has to do is pretty much then be able to flop on its back, and then it'll be able to reattach itself onto any other creature that comes around. But the parents are still on that buffalo's leg, so I would assume that they've been able to spot the ticks that the little one dropped, and that they're going to be able to get them. Oh, I would just stay here if I was an oxpecker. Look at all those ticks. Oh, look at the one walking. Or the many ones. Guys, you gotta help her. too many ticks in there. Now, it is very common for ticks to attach themselves in that particular area. You'll often find that they go for the ears, or inside of the ears, or behind the ears, or where the legs meet the body, just because the skin over there tends to be a little bit softer and lots of blood vessels going around that area. So that's why the ticks tend to concentrate in areas where they can attach themselves a lot easier, but also in areas where they can get a lot more food, which is of course blood. All right, well, I think you've almost got this. Come on, little one. Oh. Was a grunt. Seems like this little one doesn't have it quite pinned down either. So we're going to wait for them, keep you guys posted if they do manage to actually eat one of the ticks. But let's head over to Byron, who's enjoying the view at Chitwa.
I am on Chitwa, and I've checked that last position of where we had that male lion and Tingana last night. Unfortunately, there's no sign of them at all. So it looks like they've finished the kill, either the leopard or the lion, and they've moved off. I have just found a young male elephant. Let's see if it calms down. It's moving quite quickly. Hold on a second. There we go. Sorry folks, I'll stop just past this bush. That's actually a lovely view with the clearings behind it. It's moving quite quickly. You see, they get that swagger, that little swagger, and it's usually when they're walking downhill, so they walk quite quickly. Let's try to keep up with it a little bit. It's been a bit boisterous. We did see a chase in Inyala earlier, a few minutes ago. Let's try to catch up to it quickly. So, I'm not sure what happened with that kill last night. If Tingana dropped the carcass and the lion got to feed on it, but there's no sign of either of those animals in and around that area. So I'm not sure where they would have moved to. I would assume that they would have gone and looked for water. And usually animals, predators, after they've fed, they do get quite thirsty and they do head to water. So I'm going to check down towards Chitwa Dam, and maybe we have some luck there. This elephant is now a little bit closer to us. Let's have a look. Just going to switch off here. He's trying to hide from us. Well, it seems like it. Now let's see. I'm curious to see how he will react as he comes past that tree. He's found some marula, and that's obviously what he's feeding on at the moment. He seems quite relaxed for now. Now watch that trunk working, picking up all the fruit. Look at that. Must have picked up about 5 or 6 marula fruit on that occasion. It is incredible to see the trunk working. There we go, here he comes. Let's see how he reacts. He still seems fairly unfazed by us, just worried about feeding on the marula. See how he just throws that fruit back into his mouth. I'll keep my voice down a little bit, or a little bit more. Let's see how he reacts to us. As I said, he still seems very, very relaxed. And the only reason why I'm just keeping a watchful eye on him is earlier when he was walking through the clearing, I chased that Inyala. Let's see what he does. Okay, we're just going to sit still. He's quite close. Oh, this is beautiful. Really, really beautiful. You can actually see in the bottom right hand corner where the car is, this elephant is probably 3 meters from us. Ali, I think they do look at the ground somewhat while feeding, but also just by feeling and smell. Probably smell too while looking for these fruit. See, we're not moving much at all. We're sitting very, very still, so he doesn't feel threatened. And constantly just watching for behavior, just to see if he's changed his oh look, watch, he's going to push the tree. Probably wants to shake it. Hopefully no marulas drop on us. Oh, I don't think there are any left up there for him. That is wonderful. And off he goes to the next one, looking for more marula. Eh? That was very special. Wow, that was fantastic. So close to us. Sorry, I got something in my eye. But I thought, tears of joy. That was really, really spectacular. It's so special to get this close to these big elephants. And we approached slowly. He did see us, and I saw that he did relax. And then he chose to move even closer to us. So that's often the key with elephants. Try not to push them too much. Don't drive into their space. Keep your distance. If they approach you, they usually are a lot more relaxed and accepting, just like this Ellie Bull was. That was wonderful. Did you enjoy that, Fergs?
I did indeed.
Well, that was great. Okay, I'm going to head down to Chitwa Dam. Let's go back to Ellie. Find out if she's found any other birds that are unable to feed on the ticks.
Well, I haven't seen any more other than those two, Byron, and I reckon Byron would have laughed a lot at that view. I'm sure he would have had something funny to say, or perhaps even two things. We've left the buffalo clearly, as they're not around us anymore, and the oxpeckers with them, because I want to try and check the eastern side. We're not too far from where we saw that lioness yesterday, so I just want to go check up on that area, see if perhaps we get lucky with some of the bigger creatures and we can find out what actually happened to that lioness. Now, when she started almost roaring yesterday, or calling a lot louder, I know Tristan mentioned that he could hear it, so I'm sure he could hear it. So I think that perhaps during the night they could have met up at any point. And I also heard some reports from the sticks going from Chitwa Plains onto Torchwood. Now, if that's the case, I would have assumed that the lionesses were pushed a little bit further west, away from the general areas. Lions tend to avoid themselves, but I think this is all speculation as usual. We can only tell once we see what's happening, and even then animals sometimes are not sure of what they want to do or where they want to go. So I just want to follow up in this area just in case one of them is there. Any of them would be wonderful, but no tracks around here just yet, so hopefully we'll come across something in the next little while. But I'm definitely gonna go check the cut line up to where they were and then just carry on checking from there. Would be nice if we managed to see all of them together again. It's been wonderful actually to have the lions back around for a little while. I remember during the winter time, and I also know that in the last few months lions are not as common as leopards, so we've probably been seeing so many leopards because the lions haven't been around as much. They tend to, almost like they play a giant puzzle game. When the ones move around, the other ones move out, and when this ones move out, the other ones will come back in. Because as predators, and they'll pick up the sense of each one, and then they'll know where they are. So in areas where there are no lions or less lions, or the lions are not in for that time, for that period of time, then you'll see that the leopards will move in, and when the lions come back, the leopards move on to somewhere else where the lions are not. I love watching this dynamics and these interactions, or lack of interactions really, occur, and how it all plays out just like a game really. Now I think I've done this road about 18 times in the last few days because the lions have been around here, Thandi has been around here, but I'm still yet to find my first animal on Mamba Road. I would be happy even if it was a black mamba. Who knows if I'll get lucky with that. Now, nothing here, no lion tracks here. I want to go check up on that mound where we were yesterday, see in which direction that lioness headed off to, because I don't think after us anybody went to check up on her. Seems like, well, I hope Tristan has had better luck than me, so let's head over to him.
Well, Ali, no, I've had zero luck, nothing, nada, no tracks. Nothing to even speak of. In fact, I don't think I've seen an animal since the last time you guys were with us. Not even an insect, a bird, nothing. It's been very quiet, which is not ideal at all. We were hoping for a busy morning, but I do have at least some updates on what's going on. And I will give that to you shortly, because I believe Byron, well, he's trumped us all and has found a spotty cat.
Tristan, a spotty cat. Where did you hear that? Sorry, no spotty cat, but a beautiful bird nonetheless. A crake. Yeah, maybe Tristan's pants are still a little too wet and he can't think properly. Oh, Trist. I feel like I've let you all down now because I haven't found a spotted cat. But look at these beautiful cracks walking around. Nice to see them out in the open. Often they hide in the dense bush and thickets around the waterhole. Black crake. And there were also some great egrets around here too. I can't see them now. I'll have a look for... Is there still one here? No, it flew off. It flew off. That is beautiful. I do miss spending time at the dam. There we go. There too. That's a grey heron, and then that is an egret at the back, but not the great egret. That is a different one, I think. Let me just double check. I think. Let me just make sure. I always get confused and forget the yellow beak, dark legs. No, that is a great egret, the yellow beak. No, it is, and it's the big one. Yeah, there you can see it now up nicely. The great egret, beautiful, beautiful bird. The tallest. It used to be known as the great white egret, and now they just call it the great egret. Good morning, Chitty Chatty Meg. I have not heard from you for a while. I'll get to your question now. Have a look at that, what appears to be a log in the water. There's a crocodile lurking there. Can you see him, Ferg? Over there. Yeah, can you see that in the left-hand side of the screen? There he is. There's a rather large crocodile. Chitty Meg, you wanted to know about the ticks and if they sit on birds. I'm trying to think now if I've ever seen a tick on a bird. You see, birds constantly clean and preen themselves. So I think if a tick happened to sit on a bird or get into the feathers, they would clean it off fairly quickly. So Meg, I think yeah, it wouldn't be impossible for a tick to get onto a bird. However, I think then the bird would probably clean itself very quickly and get rid of that tick. What else have we got? There's a beautiful green-backed heron. I don't know when last we saw one. I just spotted one. I'll try and move for us quick, folks, just to show you. Do you think so? Let's just quickly have a look at this crocodile. Sorry, Rebecca. We'll link shortly. Just want to see that crocodile seems to be moving closer to the heron. Now, I've never seen a crocodile actually launch out and attack a heron. But let's just watch carefully here. He's moving a lot closer. Now that heron most certainly has seen that crocodile. I don't think so. I don't think anything's going to happen here. And I think that heron is quite alert. No, I don't think so. I don't think it's moving. Alright, well, it sounds like was it tick magnet or chick magnet? I wonder, maybe he can tell us more. Tristan has found, I'm not sure what he's found. It sounds like sand. Maybe he's got some tracks. Let's go have a look.
Well, no, we're sitting here and you can see there's a bit of bush there and it looks all very, very quiet. But there is a big sort of dark marking off across my left-hand side that is just in that sort of area over there. And that is an area where termites are very, very busy. As you can see when we get a little closer, look at how many termites are out and about. They're all busy building their mounds. So this is a fairly new colony that is starting. And these guys are all the workers that are trying to take particles of soil mixed with their saliva and their feces and packing it all together to build this structure. Now, initially it will be very, very soft and it will be quite damp, but as the sun comes out and dries this all up, so it becomes these hard structures that we know so well all around the area. It's pretty cool to watch them. They, as you can see, are hundreds of them all over the place. Now, because we haven't driven too close to it and we haven't kind of disturbed it in any way, there's not too many soldiers about. The soldiers are still taking it easy and the workers are being able to peacefully move around and not have to worry about things. Now, the problem is that they're very exposed. This particular mound is right out in the open, and I reckon that if they're not careful, there's going to be hornbills and various other birds that are going to start coming soon, and they're going to pick these guys off pretty quickly. So you'll find that termites generally do this work at night, and then once the sun gets up and it starts to get warmer, then they start sinking down into the mound itself to try and get out of the way of all the predators that are around in the form of birds and various other things. So these guys, I don't think are going to be building too much longer. I think it's going to be almost time to start heading back in. Although they do try and make hay while the sun shines, so to speak, which means that they will try and build this as fast as possible while the soil is still damp, because it's obviously much easier to build in damp soil than it is on dry soil. Now, Vildi, on the back mound there's a back section. There's another little insect that's crawling around. If you can just go to the right, come out a little bit for me, and there we go. It's crawling there. You see it going? What is that that's moving around there? I saw an insect sort of jog. There it goes. It looks like some sort of cricket that's coming this way. I wonder if this thing's going to hunt some of these termites. Let's have a look. It's definitely a type of cricket. I can't see which kind it is. It's a little far away, as you can see. It's just hidden there underneath that grass stalk there. You can see it moving. Now, I wonder if it's going to be one of these carnivorous ones that goes after termites. It doesn't look like it, though. Otherwise, it would have been maybe feasting on the termites behind it. But very cool to see. Is it a cricket or... It looks like it. I can't see which type it is, though. It's got these very cool little bands on it. What are you? It's very cricket-shaped, isn't it? Let's see what it does when it meets the termite mound. No, it just climbs over, and off it goes. It's got very big antennae that it's using quite a bit. Now, I'm not sure what type of cricket this is. It's got these bandy lines on the back, and there's some more termites close by. So let's see if it goes towards the termites. Fascinating, though, just to see the kind of different insects moving around. I know that we often talk about that it's nice to focus on the smaller things, and sometimes we miss these things when you don't stop. So it's always good to try and just kind of, when you see building going on, stop and have a look. There's often a lot of things going on right underneath your eyes. That's very cool to see. And you can get a nice size appreciation if you look at the termites in the far left of the screen, as opposed to the cricket. That's a tiny, tiny, tiny little cricket that we've got there. It's not very big at all. Those termites are probably, I would say, maybe, what do you think, 4 or 5 millimeters long? Maybe not even. And so that cricket is also not very small at all. But there it goes. No, definitely not hunting termites, that's for sure. So off it goes and moving on. I thought maybe it might be some sort of predatory insect that goes after termites, but it's not doing that and is moving on. So I think we'll do the same as well. Oh, there's another insect that's just arrived as well. So there's another one that's crawling there. Where did it go, Vim? It was somewhere in that grassy patch, wasn't it? Oh, there it is. See how well camouflaged it is. It's right in the front of that grassy section. It looks like a little piece of earth that is there, and it's a roach that is running along. There it goes. How cool is that? So 3 different insects in the same place, kind of together. But that's a type of roach that is out here. So which roach species it is, not 100% sure. There's lots of different ones that we get, and they sometimes are quite tough to identify. But this guy's got nice white shoulders, so I'll have to try and have a little look and see. It should be easier to identify than some of the others that I've seen that are just kind of brown and quite drab in coloration. But lots and lots happening all at one little mound. It just goes to show sometimes when you stop and you just look around a little bit, you can see all kinds of life bounding all over the place. Right. So, Ashlyn, you're wondering if the termites are born into their specific roles within the colony. So, yes, they are. When the eggs are laid and they hatch, they are either a worker, soldier, or a reproductive termite. They don't get to choose, unfortunately for them. Life is difficult, and it means that if you are chosen to work, you shall be a worker for the rest of your life. If you are chosen to reproduce, you shall reproduce the rest of your life. So, they are defined already at the first stages of life. Now, Ali is calling me. Let me answer, otherwise I'll be in trouble and be on the couch later. Go ahead, Ali. Sure, she just wants to know where I'm operating. Should we tell her, or should we just leave her to guess where we are? No, let's tell her, otherwise she's going to get upset. Just in the northwestern corner, up near Sydney's Dam area. So there we go. Now we've spoken to Ali, and we can kind of work out what she wants to do and what we're going to do and where we're going to go from here. And while we do that, let's send you across to Byron and see whether or not he's found that cat yet, because I don't know what he's doing on Chitwa, but his mission was to go and find one.
I'm trying, big boss man, I'm trying. We haven't found a cat yet, but some more birds. And these starlings were squawking, and we wondered perhaps there were some termites or something that they were flying down to catch. There are 1 or 2 on the ground. This is the... I can't believe I've hit a blank. I've just come from Botswana, and we see the Meaves starling up there. This is obviously not the Meaves starling. This is the Birchall starling. But for a second, I was going to say Meaves. I thought, no, wait, that's not right. See what happens when you travel around so much. You listen to these impala chasing each other. Oh, watch. That's awesome. This is rutting at its best. Oh, boys will be boys, eh? Wonderful to hear that sound of the male impala rutting and chasing one another around. I wanted to chat quickly, well, I'll get back to it now, but with the rutting impala, it's still a bit early, but it's usually when the rut really kicks in is about April, May. So it is still early, but maybe the males are already starting to size each other up, or just, but it's not really mating season yet for the impala, not yet. So April, May is when they do mate. I was speaking about the birds and the starlings, and yesterday we had a lovely sighting of a cuckoo, which most of the cuckoos have migrated north already, but there was a cuckoo, and I got back and I was going through some of the pictures that we got, the screenshots. Thank you for all of that. And RC, the Netherlands, I think you sent a tweet saying you think it might be the Jacobin, and I think you're right. I had a good look yesterday, and I think it was a young Jacobin cuckoo. The young Levalence has a lot more streaking and is a lot darker down the throat and the front of the bird. This one was a bit dirty, but I don't think it was enough to make it a Levalence, so I think it was a young Jacobin. So thank you very much. Always appreciate when we get back, we have a look, double check, and just see. Maybe we didn't get the bird right. It's always nice to have a look. So I think that one that we saw yesterday was a young Jacobin cuckoo. I looked at a few images and Googled a few juvenile images. So I think that's what it was. Eileen, we do not have superb starlings in this area. I'd love to see one. Fergs, you got to see a lot, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Up in East Africa, we don't get them down here. So I've never seen one, but apparently they're very beautiful. I saw pictures. But very, very nice. It's so funny. I always think, sorry, I just want to look at this impala again for a second, because just look at the behavior now. They are now standing, feeding happily together. Nobody's chasing or fighting. Don't men do that? I think we can sometimes get into an argument, and 5 minutes later we're the best friends again. Folks. It's wonderful to see all these big males together. Now, sitting and just watching impala like this, some people might think, this is boring, let's move on, we're not seeing anything, but this is still something to see. And while we're sitting here, we saw the other day, we're watching some antelope, and the next thing, the antelope alarm called and helped us to find that female leopard, Thandi. So while we are sitting, we are still listening out to the bush. Maybe we pick up another clue that there's a predator in the area. Maybe hear the lions roaring again. They've gone quiet this morning. Haven't heard them again. I think it is important to stop, appreciate all the animals, and then also listen out to the bush and the sounds. Don't forget, please send us your questions and comments. #SafariLive is how you do it via Twitter, and we'll gladly get to them. Now, speaking about birds, Judith, you were asking, have I got a favorite bird down here in Djuma and on Safari Live? A favorite bird down here? I think My favorite bird is a martial eagle, and we have seen martial eagle on Safari Live before. I really, really love them. Some of the wonderful calls which I enjoy hearing. Excuse me, there's actually a vehicle coming. I just want to move off the road quickly. But some of the wonderful calls I enjoy hearing is that of the black-crowned shagra. And I'm sure some of you have heard it before. It's got that very undulating call. Something like that. And that's a black-crowned shagra. And that's definitely one of my favorite calls to hear in the bush. And then the owls. I love the little owls. All the owls, actually. I do enjoy them. So the pearl-spotted, the Scops owl, the Verreaux's eagle owl, spotted eagle owl. Now, I must say, yesterday we were talking about this, that we haven't actually heard or seen any owls for quite some time. The elephants have done a bit of damage there. So I'm just having a look at the vehicle behind us, wondering where they're heading off to. Anyway, so the owls that I said we hadn't heard for a while. This morning I woke up, Scops owl was calling, pearl-spotted owl was calling, and then another nocturnal bird, a fiery-necked nightjar, that was calling. And I hadn't heard them for quite a few days. So it's nice to hear them again this morning. It would be lovely to find one of them. I'm back on Djuma now. There was not much going on Chitwa. There was an update. I think somebody thought, or there were tracks of what they think might have been the Styx Pride. Now, I haven't seen the Styx Pride for a very long time. But they were, I think, closer towards Kruger, heading on to Torchwood. So we won't be able to go and follow up in that area. But if they are found, or if they're heading in this direction, I'm sure we will get an update. Someone will let us know, and maybe we get to see them. Some zebra tracks along here. I see a hornbill flying. It looks like it had something in its beak, but it's just disappeared through the trees. Had something fairly large in its beak. I wonder what it caught. Yesterday I was driving through this area and speaking about all the birding that we've done, and I saw a Coqui Franklin, which is beautiful. We've got a beautiful view of a Coqui Franklin. Unfortunately, it disappeared before we could get it on camera. And then the Shelley's Franklin was calling here too. I've never seen a Shelley's Franklin on Djuma before, so I'd love to see one. So I'm going to listen out again. While I do that, let's go to Ali, find out how her morning is going and what her plan is.
Well, we are definitely onto something, or at least I hope we are. We came to the spot where the lioness was resting yesterday, and she definitely met up with some other lions as her trail pretty much up the mound, and then there are more lion tracks heading down towards the mound. Now, I'm struggling to see where exactly it is that they went off to, and I've done a little loop around this area, but I can't see them there because they could have either gone back using the block onto Torchwood, which is an area that I'm not allowed to check, or they could have gone down here. But because also the ground is still a little bit hard, it's making it a bit complicated. But I have a feeling that the lions are probably not that far away from the buffalo, so I actually want to check down central again and then just carry on following that road, and perhaps we'll get lucky with some more tracks, because they've definitely carried on walking down on this road that I'm in, but then just as we get close to the junction, I'm not too sure where they've gone off to. So we're gonna go check, and hopefully we'll be able to get lucky with some more tracks. There have been also tons and tons of elephants walking around here. They've done their fair share in destroying certain tracks, but at least it's a relief to know that she's fine. Byron seems to have a bird that might fly away.
We've got a view of the Shelley's Franklin. I heard it here yesterday. there it is on that termite mound. I have not seen one for a very, very long time. That is beautiful. I'm going to see if it calls again, then I'll keep quiet. There we go. Wonderful. Oh, that is great. That is great. Oh, beautiful Shelley's Franklin. You see that white throat, and usually they run through the grass, very similar to the Koki Franklin, and they hide away. But this one is, I think, giving a bit of a territorial display. It's a male that I think is trying to attract the female, perhaps, and he's right up there making a lot of noise. Oh, this is really wonderful. I'm so happy. The male and female are alike. I just assume that this is a male because of the way he's displaying and he's calling constantly up on top of that termite mound. He's not stopping. Look at him. Now, I'm sure some of you have seen a Shelley's Franklin before on Safari Live. I haven't been able to see one. But for those of you who haven't, you can add this to the bird list. This is a really nice one to add. A friend of mine actually is a very, very keen birder. I think his bird list for Southern Africa is close to 800 already. He's in 700 and something. So that's a very high bird list for any guide. And for years he could never find a Shelley's Franklin. And I told him to come look in the Sabi sands. I said, we got lots here, and I've seen them plenty. And he came a number of times and could never find this bird. But eventually he did see it, I think, towards the end of last year. So it's not a bird we see often. That is lovely. Speaking about birds, Eve, there are definitely parrots here on Djuma. I haven't heard any since I've been here now in this stint, but we have beautiful brown-headed parrots, and I'll show you an image of them shortly. Let's just keep an eye on that Franklin for a bit, because it is a lovely view of him. But yes, Eve, we do have brown-headed parrots, and you do hear them and see them quite often, but for some reason I haven't heard them now the last little while I've been up here. Let me show you what they look like. There you go. That is the brown-headed parrot. Beautiful. That head looks a little bit more grey. Oh, there you can see a bit of brown over there. Beautiful. Well, that was really a wonderful sighting, and I'm so glad we got to show you that Shelley's Franklin. Let's go across to Tristan, who is moving rather slowly at the moment.
Well, I'm not moving very slowly, but this snail sure is. So I know, James, you were wondering if we were going to be seeing snails today, and would like to have seen a snail today. So hopefully this is going to satisfy that hunger. But giant land snails, there are lots of them about at the moment. So they're all over the place after the rain, and there's lots of little ones moving about. This one is not the biggest I've ever seen, but it is certainly not a small individual either. It's difficult to gauge size from there. I'll go there and kind of stand and show you just how big these guys can get, but you can see its eye stalks are out. It's busy moving across the road and is, well, slowly heading towards the other side. So what I'll do is I'll head in that direction so I can show you just how big it is in relation to me and my hand and maybe my foot. But it's a little bit further ahead in the road, and you've got to be a bit careful when you're driving around these days because there's lots and lots of these guys that are moving in and out of the area. So there we go. I'll put my hand next to it for comparison so you can see just how big these guys can get. And like I say, this is not the biggest I've ever seen. In fact, last night I found a gargantuan sized snail that was moving around in the DRC or in our camp, and it was this beast that came out, and it had a massive shell, and it was able to kind of move around, and it was looking for marulas. Funny enough, these guys actually eat marulas quite a bit. And I remember James last year had a crazy sighting of a snail on his dashboard eating a marula. He kind of broke a marula open, and the snail then fed on it, which was pretty cool. So you'll find them going after the marulas, particularly in camp where people have stood on them and have caused a bit of damage. And then these snails get in there and they start feeding off it. Now let me plug myself in. There we go, click, so I can hear Rebecca again, otherwise I'm going to be in trouble. YT viewer, you're wondering if these are poisonous snails? So, no, they are not poisonous. Well, I mean, I don't think they taste very good either. No one really eats them out here, so even the local guys and the local sort of cultures, snails are not a part of their diet. So I don't think that they are toxic in any way. I mean, they don't give us any sort of issues, or even if you touch them, you don't get any sort of burns, so there's no formic acid or anything like that comes off of them. So I think that's also one of the reasons why they have a shell. If any animal that has a protective casing like that generally is not toxic, it wouldn't need it to rely on a shell if it was toxic. That shell is there to protect it. When it's under attack, it'll tuck into the shell and try and hide away as best as possible. And so, toxic animals very seldom have very hard shells and houses to hide away in. But isn't it cool to see its eyes moving around? Jamie, you asking about shells and do they grow the shells and where do they come from? Well, yes, they have those shells from day one. And they start the shell and the shell grows with them. So you can see there's lots of little ridges on that shell, and as the snail gets larger, so the shell starts to get bigger and bigger as well, and you get these little conical kind of shape out towards the back. But they do have the shell from the beginning all the way through their life until they die. Now, unfortunately for these guys, they're very susceptible to fire. Funny enough, that's one of the things that does get them quite often, is that they get burnt in fires, and you find their shells regularly after a fire has gone through. These shells go absolutely white after the fire, and the kind of keratin layer burns off and then leaves this white shell. So you do see that quite a lot. Now, you might notice that there is almost a bit of a heat haze. It's because the engine of the car is quite hot, and that's what's causing that little bit of heat haze. But there's a little ant crawling around. Careful, ant, you're going to get squashed if you're not careful, although an ant moves much faster than what a snail does, although that ant doesn't seem to be too scared of the snail at all. But isn't it cool to see how they move? I think it's absolutely wonderful to see how they move. So snails and slugs, basically what they do is they have this massive foot pad, if you want to call it that. So it's this huge pad on the bottom that's got muscles in it, and they secrete a mucus that helps lubricate the surface of where they're moving, so both the sand as well as their foot pad, and that allows them to glide almost across. You can see there's very little movement actually of the foot pad, so it's not like a millipede movement, or if you've ever seen a snake when it crawls on its ribs, so things like puff adders or pythons, they kind of will have a muscular movement through their body, whereas you can see with this, very little of that happens. But there is muscles that are moving there, and the reason they move so effortlessly is because of the secretion that just lubricates the surface and as well as their underside, and they're basically sliding across the top of the soil rather than just sitting tight. Happy the snail is eating, like I was saying just now, marulas at this time of the year are a big part of its diet. They do feed off them quite a lot. I actually saw one the other day doing it, which was quite cool. And so they go after any plant material, fruits, those kind of things. So they are vegetarians or vegans. Would be vegans, wouldn't it? Anyway, they're herbivorous animals. They go after only plants and fruits. I think there are carnivorous snails in South Africa, but not these guys. These big giant African land snails are not carnivorous. Very cool things, though. I quite like them. I think they've got some character. And look at it just going. It takes a long time to get across the road. And interesting with this one is the direction it's taken in order to get to where it is, because it was going in the complete opposite way, and now it's turned around, and now it's going back south. It was going north, now it's going south, and almost looks as though it might turn again and do a circle. Maybe it's doing some figure skating, given that the Winter Olympics are around. It's snail figure skating that's going on here and going around in circles. They generally are pretty good at kind of working out where they want to go, but this particular one seems as though it's a bit confused as to its direction. Right, I'm going to try and avoid squashing our snail. I'm going to find a way to get around it. Not that it should be too difficult, given that it doesn't race around. And so while I do that, let's send you across to Bumbling Byron and see what he's up to and where he's bumbling to.
Tristan, I am just cruising around at the moment, and I'm enjoying all the bird life. We just saw a hornbill that caught what looked like a large wood borer beetle, but then it flew off, so unfortunately we couldn't get it on camera. But there's some wonderful birds around, and also the trees. Now, Camille, I think you asked if we could focus on some of the trees and plants. Now, it is important to do some trees at times, and here is quite an interesting little tree or bush just off to my left. I'm going to jump off quickly. Just want to show you this one. Fergs, you're not allowed to focus on my feet because I do not have proper shoes on, because my shoes are wet. So please don't. This beautiful tree, and I'm actually just going to break this little branch off. It's not going to damage the tree, but I want to show you what this is. Now, this is what is called an ivy grape, and the ivy grape does appear to look like an ivy. I suppose the tendrils of an ivy that grow and creep up other trees. You can see these little tendrils forming on the side of the branch, but the leaves are also very curved. They curve in like this, so it's quite easy to identify. And the ivy grape, the scientific name is Cissus cornifolia. Cissus cornifolia is the ivy grape, and I think you can actually eat the grapes. It does produce a little fruit, and you can eat the grapes. I'm not really a fan of too many of the fruit that we get out here. Obviously, the marulas are really nice. Sour plums are quite good to eat too. Very sour, hence the name sour plum. But the ivy grape does produce little grapes, and I do know that people eat them from time to time. That's a nice little one. So, Camille, I hope you're making notes if you haven't seen the ivy grape before. And then, what else have we got? We've got so many trees around here. And I was actually trying to brush up on some of the scientific names of the trees. There's a lovely red bush willow just off to our left over here. This is quite a large one. And if you have a look, this is a red bush willow. Not many pods on it. I don't see any pods at the moment. But if you look closely, look at the tip of that leaf. You see how the leaf curves slightly in the front and is pointed. It's got quite a sharp little point. So that is a way to remember the scientific name, because the scientific name for the red bush willow is Combretum apiculatum. Now, when I'm chatting to other guides or trying to teach young guides, that little pick or that little point of the leaf, It's an easy way to remember apiculatum. So Combretum apiculatum for the red bush willow. Wonderful tree. Not as many pods on this one, like the russet bush willow that we've been seeing around. I'll try to find another one of those, just because most of the russet bush willows have got beautiful pods at the moment. They're covered in those brown, reddish brown pods. Oh dear, Lisa, you asked, are there any resurrection plants in this area? I don't know what that is, Lisa. I will have to look up, or if you can tell me, where did you hear about it, or where did that come from? I'm not sure. I haven't heard about that. So maybe explain about the resurrection plants. The only thing I can think of, not quite resurrection, but I know the buffalo thorn has got a strong cultural belief within the area. People believe that taking the buffalo thorn, a branch of the buffalo thorn, and waving it over an area where a family member has passed away, the myth is that, or the belief is that the branch captures the spirit of that person, and they take the branch back home so that the spirit may rest with the family, and they bury that branch in the garden. But I don't know about a resurrection plant. I'm not sure. Lisa, give me some more information if you wouldn't mind. And maybe I've heard of another story similar. Maybe Tristan's heard something about the resurrection plant, or has any clues. So let's go find out.
Indeed I do, Byron. I know what a resurrection plant is, and we don't get them here in South Africa, or in this part of South Africa anyway, not in the Sabi sands. But basically it's a plant that completely dies in the winter time when there's no rain, and then it comes alive again as soon as the rain comes up, which is pretty cool. But this is not a resurrection plant in any way, shape or form. This is an Uthika, so it is a egg casing for a mantid, or mantis if you want to call it that. And they've basically, what happens is it comes and it lays all its eggs inside there. So if you see a little carefully, it would be nice if I could get a light behind it, but you see there's little white dots within that casing. Those are all little eggs, and so hundreds of little baby mantis will hatch out of this egg case at some point soon. And you'll find what they do is they go up onto a grass stalk, and they basically, much like a foamless tree frog, effectively secrete a fluid that wraps around the eggs to protect them and make sure that predators aren't going after them, and they then hatch from that. It's amazing actually watching one of these hatch. You cannot believe how many of these little babies come out of a tiny little egg case like that. Now that egg case is minute. You can see it's on a grass stalk, and so grass is not exactly the biggest thing in the world. There's a leaf behind it as well that you can see, so it's very small. It's about the size of my thumbnail, maybe about the size of my thumbnail. And so that is going to produce hundreds of tiny mantises. Right, I'm going to carry on and leave our mantis case to itself. We also haven't moved more than 1 meter since we were with the snails, so we're going to try and cover a little bit more ground. While we do that, let's send you across to Ali, who's got a one-tusked elephant.
We do. We've got one tusk boy here, and there's another one that was trailing him not too far away. Now, you're getting a little bit close to me. Are you curious of what we are? We are roughly the same size of the elephant with the roof that we still got on. And it almost seemed that this bull with the other one, that they were having a bit of a tussle. They were definitely standing next to each other, measuring trunks and tusks. So this bull is actually slightly bigger than the one that might just come into view a little bit later. But he's only got one very thick tusk, whereas the other one, this is just slightly smaller, has got two. So perhaps the other one might have a bit of an advantage. It is quite interesting to see that sometimes elephants with just one tusk don't fare as well as the ones with two. There we go. Here's the second one. Now a bit of a younger boy, definitely smaller tusks. They look a lot spikier. Now boys, be nice and don't start going at each other, because I don't want to be collateral damage. It's all fun and games. Now, it's not unusual for a big bull elephant to be in the company of a younger one. Often you will find that the young elephants look for the older individuals just to learn the ropes and pretty much all of the different things that they should do and how they should behave. It's almost like they look at them as mentors or role models, and the older bulls tend to be quite accepting of them, and then they show them the way that they're supposed to behave in certain things that are just general courtesy in the elephant world. Now, it seems like you're enjoying all this grass that's right next to us. It's quite delicious. And you are eating pieces of a buffalo thorn too, despite all the thorns that are in there. Now, I think this might be a bit of a tough angle for us, so I'm just going to go a little bit forward and turn around in a way that we can see both of them a little bit better. Unless you want to move? No, you're not moving. Very beautiful bull. He's not the tallest bull that I've seen, but he's quite stocky, very big, and he's got his very thick one tusk. So it's still quite impressive, and very, very thick trunk. And very clean patch, perhaps where he's been resting his trunk on his tusk, because the elephants seem to do that every now and again. Right, the pole is getting in our way, so let me just go slightly forward, and then I'm going to turn around and I can park right here where we're going to have a better view. It might just take me about 10 seconds to do this. But sometimes animals are a bit too close to us and it gets in our way. No, don't go. Carry on eating your buffalo thorn. Oh, it's nice and yummy. Ah, sneaky, sneaky bull. It's just decided to go down the road. Such a big, beautiful elephant with your wrinkly bum. Now, you see, after the rain, it's almost like all the animals prefer to walk on the road because there's no wet grass around them. And I do think they get annoyed when they're walking down and their feet get wet, their paws. So it's almost like they prefer to avoid that situation. Now, I came into this area hoping that some of the lions would be around, but unfortunately, it seems like no tracks have come into this area, which is leading me to think that perhaps they have crossed onto Torchwood, and that's why we aren't able to find them. But I also know that Tristan is in the northern part of that area, so we communicated over the radio, and I believe he's going to go check Buffelshoek Dam in that area, as that might be the only other option where they've gone off to. As they definitely haven't come out this way. Now, where are you, elephant friend? Walking down the road. Well, if he carries on walking down the road in that direction, he might get to Twin Dams and will definitely bump into the buffalo. It's not going to be an easy thing for him to get there. It's going to take them probably at this pace about another 20 minutes or so. But it would be interesting to see the interaction between the buffalo and the elephants. Well, there's been so many elephants in Djuma in the last little while that they just seem to be bumping and interacting with all of the other species. Hello, young boy. Are you also going to follow the big guy around? There was a very funny case in the Pilanesberg National Park a few years ago where they reintroduced a bunch of elephant bulls, young bulls. And they were behaving quite oddly. They were going crazy. They were killing rhino. They were bullying everyone out of the water holes. And researchers and conservationists couldn't quite understand what had gotten into the elephants, why they were, young bulls behaving this way. So eventually what they did was introduce older bulls that are a little bit more behaved, perhaps not as boisterous as these elephants, just so that they could teach them that certain things, you can do them. If you're an elephant, you can destroy pretty much whatever you want, but you shouldn't. So when the bigger bulls were reintroduced, then it seemed like the younger bulls calmed down, and it's almost like they learned their place. And they had less problems with elephants bullying and killing other creatures. So I think the toll of rhino was quite big. They were just chasing rhinos all over the place. Now, guys, please carry on going south. I would really like you to see drinking. Alright, seems like the young boy is taking it easy. And where's our bigger friend? Trying to get a nice spot, but he is hiding quite not a good vision. First lady, I don't think an elephant's gonna have an issue attracting ladies. What they might have an issue with is trying to fend off other males who are also attracted to the same ladies. Now, when elephants fight for hierarchy or dominance, it's very similar to the buffalo actually. It's a head-on collision and they spar with their tusks. So the lack of a second tusk, because it's almost like they lock their trunks and their tusks together and then they try to get each other to back down. Now, if you're lacking a tusk, it might be a bit of a problem to force that other individual to back down. However, if you've got one big powerful tusk, that might give you an advantage. So they can have a little bit more trouble fighting off other males. But having said this, sometimes they make up for it because just how bulky and powerful they are. You are loving this very green patch of grass. And I see them eating like you almost feel like doing the same because they seem so happy and just like, oh, maybe this would be a vegetarian's paradise. Tristan is still on the search for the lion tracks, but it seems like he's also found himself a very large friend.
I found our resident hippo at Buffelshoek Dam. So we've gotten to Buffelshoek Dam. There's not a single lion in sight, which is pretty par for the course when it comes to me and Buffelshoek Dam. I have zero luck at this dam. I very seldom see anything happening here except for this hippo. It's amazing how it happens. I think, like I say, in all my time, I've only ever seen lions at this dam once, which was one male lion that drank here, and I've seen leopards at this dam twice, and that's it. So I only ever had 3 sightings of the cats at Buffelshoek Dam. Some people have seen everything here many times. So exactly. Vildi says he's even seen a wild dog kill. So it must be my luck at Buffelshoek Dam. I really never get lucky at all in this area. But that's okay. One day I'll break the sort of rut and be able to see something happening. Now you can see our hippo is just going underwater. This hippo is generally quite a shy fella. He doesn't really like to be seen that much. I'm sure he's loving the fact that Buffelshoek Dam is fuller than it was. Can now cruise around without his back showing too much and kind of pop his head up every now and then and sort of show his face. Now earlier when I was sending you across to Byron, I said I did have some updates and I failed to tell you about them because I got serious squirrel syndrome, which means that I kind of just forgot. I'm sorry. But anyway, the updates that I did have was that the wild dogs are on Arethusa still, close to Arethusa camp, and Hukamuri was also on Arethusa, moving in a sort of southeasterly direction, so it might be heading towards us by this afternoon. Still a long way out though, and so were the wild dogs still quite far. And then there was an update that Tiani was seen, Moya was seen, and that they saw Shadulu yesterday. So that's the kind of general updates on our leopards from the western side of the world. They all kind of moved around. Now, Djuma, you're wondering if Scuba Steve is the only hippo in this dam. I'm not sure if this is Scuba Steve because Scuba Steve generally doesn't allow us even 1 second view. Scuba Steve, if you find that hippo at Treehouse, that's the one that was originally Scuba Steve, that just goes underwater and doesn't show itself, like I say, at all. It literally sees you and goes under, and then you just see nostrils going up and down until you kind of leave. So I'm not sure if this is Scuba Steve, but it is the only hippo in Buffelshoek Dam at the moment. Yes, was it yesterday or the day before I came past here? And there was 2 of them, but today it looks like just the one. Once again, I don't see any others, but you can see Buffelshoek Dam is rather full. It definitely is the dam that fills up the quickest out of all of ours, and it's because it has 2 drainage systems to flow in. It's got a drainage system from the right and the left. Now, what have you seen there, Viam? How full the dam is. Yes, grass on the edge of the water. Good. Now, I believe Ali has caught up with those elephants. I wonder if the elephants have caught up with the buffalo yet. Let's go across and find out.
Not quite yet, but he's definitely well on his way. So I am hoping that he's going to carry on at the steady pace he's been walking in. I think he's going for water. That would be my best guess. And there are other water sources. He could come onto the dry riverbeds and dig for water, but maybe he just doesn't feel like it. Sometimes you just want to go to the water dispenser rather than having to look for it. Now, the youngster is not following us. He's just decided to stay behind, so we're going to carry on with our big bull. And who knows, maybe he will show us where the lions are, because I'm running out of ideas. crossing the riverbed. Yay! Alright, beautiful elephant. Don't want to surprise him or drive right next to him. Right, I need a bit of momentum to get up this hill. So I'm gonna let him walk away a little bit from us, just so that we don't have to make too much noise and potentially disturb him. And it is quite humbling sometimes to see an elephant from below. It just makes you feel even more the size of a tiny little ant. You're picking up some of the sand? Yes, please do help us loosen the soil a little bit. It's hard to track in these conditions. Fascinating how elephants' trunks never stand still unless they're sleeping. They're always up to something. It's almost like it's a limb, though, that's got its own personality and does its own thing, not really bothering too much about what the rest of the creature thinks. But I see now, and I'm sure you guys were able to see it earlier before, he's putting up some dust in his trunk and then he's spraying it onto the one side and then onto the other side. So he's having somewhat of a dust bath and just applying it either for sun protection or to try and get rid of some of the parasites that might be on his skin. But I also think that now he's doing it just for fun. Almost like when you're playing with water and you start throwing it around. I feel like it's almost the same. Now I want to go around here, see if perhaps we get another view of him just walking down the road in an area that's going to be, or provide us with a bit of a better view. You can hear him still going through puddles, and even though it stopped raining yesterday morning, there's been a lot of water that's just been going down, which is good. We needed all this water. Rather go here and not up there. We needed all this water for all the creatures to be happy. Oh, seems like I chose to come right where the other puddle is. This is probably one of the funnest things to do. It's just to drive around puddles. There we go. He's right in front of us. Oh, yes, there's water there. Too muddy for you? Yeah, doesn't seem like he's interested. There's a little mud wallow here, and I've seen hyenas and wild dogs and just in general all sorts of creatures drinking water from here. But elephants are fuzzy with their water. They won't just drink any water. Now I'm starting to ask myself if he's actually going for water, if he's going somewhere else. We are definitely approaching the area where we left the buffalo, so I'm hoping they're still going to be there. And maybe we'll get to see the elephant approach the buffalo. See what happens when... I reckon it could go either way. Either the elephant is going to choose in typical big bull elephant fashion to chase all the buffalo away because they are on the exact spot where he wanted to walk, or he's just not going to be bothered and veer off and just do his own thing. Right, we're going to try to catch up with him once more, but as he makes his way down to the buffalo, let's head over to Byron and find out what his plans are for the rest of the morning.
Well, I'm not sure, Tristan. I'm enjoying being out here, just driving around. It's nice and cool, and I'm hoping to bump into little creatures. Maybe a snake. Now, myself and Fergs are laughing because we actually didn't hear Rebecca correctly, and we thought Tristan linked to us earlier. So we did a whole segment and nobody was listening to us. We weren't live. So we mentioned a snake and we'd like to see a snake. And then Fergus said he doesn't want to see a snake anywhere near his room. So that's what we did while we were off air. Well. These are always beautiful trees, and I mean these are trees that we see regularly, but the beautiful silver cluster leaf just off to our left, and they do have a beautiful silver tinge to the leaf. It's Terminalia sericea. We've been doing a few trees this morning. These are a lot of the trees that I'm sure most of the guides have spoken about before. It's nice to see them. Now, I was laughing. I was going through a few trees the other day, and these, it's amazing how many trees. One of the uses, or medicinal uses, is to help an upset stomach or diarrhea. So I think just about every tree has been, somebody's tried to use it to help with diarrhea or stomach cramps. But the terminalia, I do know that one of the uses of the tree is to strip the bark off, and the bark comes off in strips that you're able to then weave together and use as rope. So they do, locals would use the terminalia as rope. Speaking about some other trees, Jared's buddy, the buffalo thorn, as far as I know, cannot be used for a toothache. I haven't heard of that before. The one thorn tree we have out here that is used for toothache is the knob thorn. The knobs or the nodes of the knob thorn, I'll try to find one for you, are ground down, and apparently that paste is put on your tooth. That helps for toothache. So Fergs was just showing us the beautiful bark of the terminalia of the silver cluster leaf. And it is quite easy to strip the bark off. So I don't know about a buffalo thorn, Jared's buddy, for helping with toothache. I don't think so. Maybe we can ask some of the viewers. I know Stacey's watching back home, and she's training to be a guide. Been trying to help her a little bit. Don't know if it's good that I help, but anyway. So Stacey, maybe you can tell us if a buffalo thorn is used for toothache. It's got a tree books and tree apps. Look it up and let us know. Now I'm also surprised that we haven't seen any chameleons. Been a lot of rain, the bush is green and lush. Maybe they're just that well camouflaged. When else did you see a chameleon, Fergs? Really? Ferg says he hasn't seen one since he's been back. So that's interesting. I wonder when last Tristan or Ali saw a chameleon. It is a little bit easier to spot them at night. And we managed to spot a scorpion last night, which I always think is great, to find a scorpion with the spotlights at night. It's a little trick of mine. But let's go across to Tristan, find out when last he saw a scorpion.